Hello everyone, hope you're doing well. During this air event, I decided I was going to spade a bunch of vehicles that I've kind of been sat on for a while that I didn't finish, basically because of the fact that there's a lot of the tech trees that I've researched out. I didn't really want to go back and play these things because there's not really much point, right? Because you don't get any research towards anything else. And a lot of my tech trees are like this because basically they haven't moved a lot of the kind of research points they haven't reduced anything. So whenever you kind of research through rank 7, which is what I've done and spade the vehicles, you end up just unlocking all of rank 8 at the same time. And obviously this is nice, but at the same time, it just means that there's no reason for me to kind of play rank 8s unless I'm going to use them in ground or a different game mode, which at least at the moment, after spading a bunch of top tier ground stuff, maybe I will start using them. We'll have to see. So I played the MiG-23MLD. This was the second to last vehicle that I didn't have spaded in rank 7 USSR. The other one being the Su-25T. Didn't really feel like it, to be honest. I'm very bored of these strike aircraft and playing them. But the MiG-23MLD was very much a story of two halves. This vehicle starts with a horrendously bad set of missiles on it. The only thing it really has is speed, which is quite nice. But once you actually end up getting a lot of the modifications on it, mainly the missiles, you actually start having a bit of fun, which is pretty fun. So the vehicle itself, as I said, its speed is very good. One of the big upgrades, or one of the big upgrades, sorry, it gets over the standard MiG-23M is that this vehicle gets more countermeasures. So you get 60 large caliber countermeasures. Even though this thing burns very hot, the countermeasures are quite nice. One of the things I don't like about the countermeasures, though, is they fire upwards instead of downwards. And what this basically means is the vehicle, the kind of missile, especially since a lot of people will fire from above you a lot of the time, the missile will come down, hit the flare, and then it will just continue onto your engine. Or if you fire the flare downwards, there's more chance that it goes into the ground and it's harder for the missile to come back up. This is why stuff like the F5, for example, or one of the reasons why the F5 is super survivable compared to a lot of others. But with the MiG-23MLD, you don't get that. Instead, they fire upwards, but it's still better than the MiG-23M. It's kind of crazy thinking about how these two are only like 2 BRs difference before they're actually only 1 little BR different. The other massive advantage the MiG-23MLD gets is the missiles. And because it actually gets useful large missiles. The R-23s I despise. Okay, I know a lot of people who like the R-23s, the R-23Rs and the 23Ts. I cannot stand them as missiles. I don't know what it is about them. I just have never been able to get them to work. They just don't track well. They have a very long reaction time, meaning that it takes them a long time once they're off the rail to be able to correct and then go to a target. But once I started using the R-24Rs, which have a much bigger booster on them, they have better overload, they also have way longer missile guidance time, meaning that you can fire them from further away. It was like, okay, this is what people have been talking about. This is an amazing missile, and it works really, really well. The MiG-23MLD also has kind of an interesting radar. I basically use the R-24Rs, which are the radar missiles, and this radar, it has IRST, kind of found completely worthless in kind of aerialistic, maybe in simulator it's a bit more useful, but this radar has basically 2 modes. You have kind of like the standard search mode, and then you have another mode which is attached to it, which isn't activated by you. And this is where it gets interesting. So if you have your standard search mode, but then with the vehicle, if you basically like point the nose down, then you also get access to a new mode, which basically acts like a PD radar. So it's kind of weird because usually what you do is you switch between the radar modes, right? Like if you are a person who is playing something like the Phantom, you just switch between them, and that's how it works. Same with stuff like the Viggen. But with this vehicle, if you are looking upwards with the MiG-23, it'll be a standard search radar, and if you are looking downwards, it turns into a search MTI. Now, in all intents and purposes, a search MTI is basically a PD radar. Basically, it removes a lot of the ground clutter and it makes it quite easy. So this means that if you have somebody above you, the search radar actually works incredibly well against them. If you have somebody which is below you, then the MTI works really well against them too. But if you have somebody who is changing altitude compared to you, or is at the same altitude as you, then you've got a bit of a problem with the vehicle. And that's what kind of is interesting about the MiG-23MLD. You have all of these different ways of kind of approaching targets, so the approach is really important as you go in. The IR missiles. This thing starts with R-13s. Once again, a lot of people talk to me about how good the R-13s are compared to like the standard R-60s or compared to like other missiles. I've never been able to get them to work. You only get 2 of them and they are kind of worthless. The other vehicles or the other missiles you get are the R-60Ms. The R-60Ms, once again, I don't rate at all. I think they're obviously all aspect, which is kind of nice, I suppose, but they're crazy easy to flare, and one of the biggest issues with this is the actual range of them. The R60s are actually quite maneuverable. You know, they maneuver at 30G. The problem is they just do not have a long boost to them. Now, with the MiG-23, that's not a huge issue because the vehicle is very fast, right? So you can use the speed of the vehicle and give it to the missile to be able to fire it. But the problem is you still have to get close to the target in order to hit them. This is why I prefer stuff like the Crusader, the Harrier, even the Phantoms, which have stuff like AIM-9Gs and AIM-9Hs, because they have a much bigger kind of burner on them. So you can fire the missiles from way further away, which catches a lot of the enemies out. Whereas when I'm using stuff like R60s, or when I'm using stuff like AIM-9Js or AIM-9Ps, I feel like I have to get so close to the target, they're always going to be able to see me before kind of, you know, launching off. Since this thing has a massive engine, it has the good old Tumansky R35-300, it is incredibly quick. It also gets an extra fuel tank. You really should take it because it will burn through fuel like crazy. One of the problems with a lot of these Russian vehicles, though, is that they overspeed, and this is the same with the MiG-23MLD. You'll really start noticing it once you play stuff like the MiG-21 BIS, but the 23MLD is also really bad for this. So you got to be careful about managing the engine. You can't go at 110% all the time because literally your wings will just fall off, and it's not something that's just exclusive to the Russians. It just seems to happen with a lot of their vehicles where basically their engines are too powerful for the platform that they're on. Which is good in a way because it means that you're crazy fast, but at the same time you just have to watch that speed because it will start ripping you apart. So as long as you manage it, it actually gives you quite a nice situation to be able to attack. Now the vehicle's at 11.7. This puts it at the prime American premium range, so you'll face Hornets all day, you'll also face F4s all day. Against F4s, this thing is actually really good, because, once again, the radar missiles are really nice, and also at the same time you have pretty good maneuverability, especially with the variable swept wings, so I felt like a lot of the time I was, you know, doing pretty good with it. I wish this thing had the MiG-27 gun, though. I really got in tune with that MiG-27 gun, the GSH-630. This one just has the standard GSH-23L, which I don't feel is as good as the other one. But against stuff like Hornets, it's very hard to actually play against them. Basically, you have the speed advantage, and that's really about it. And then you start running into stuff like F-16s, and it's like, what am I doing here? I don't understand what's happening. So it's another one of those vehicles that's just stuck between BRs. When it's at its BR or lower, it feels great. It works fantastically well. If it's slightly above its BR, let's say 12.0, once again, it can be manageable. 12.3 and 12.7 are just death spirals, and they just hurt my brain. And that's unfortunately what happens with this vehicle. You are a slave to the meta, and I know this is like a problem with a lot of jets at the moment, but I feel like it's very much exemplified by this, especially since it has such a rough stock grind to be able to get the actual useful missiles that you want to use with this thing. A lot of people do base bomb with this thing, you know, using the incendiaries and then going from there. It's an easy way of getting points. I don't personally like it. I'm not a huge fan of doing stuff like that. I think it's much better just to do the air-to-air stuff because the vehicle is a lot better that type of thing. Now, we ended up playing 56 battles in this to spade it, 50% win rate dead, 110 air kills, and also 34 deaths. One of the funniest things about this, by the way, is its RWR. This thing has the SPO-15, and if you're going up against other MiG-23s, which you will do because more nations have them now, Germany and also Italy are some of the examples. And one of the funny things about it is the MiG-23 RWR cannot actually see the MiG-23 radar. So if you see a MiG-23 on the enemy team, it actually makes more sense to go after them with the radar missiles because they don't know you're coming in. And that's just one of the funny hilarities of using this thing, and also the fact of different nations having the same technology. As always, I hope you have a wonderful day, and I'll see you next time. I'd just like to thank GMG Smiley, CD Beans, Chieftain Mike, EMN3 Galaxy, Tulio Pontecorvo, Brendan Quinn, Carrion Crow, Gus Irenicus, Pyman, Wartinder, Teddy, Daniel Stanton, Martinez, B. Young, Ozzy Panzer, Alan Hacker, Liam Shear, Opium Prime, Lafouche, Sem, Aslan, Uncle Bean, and Derek R. for supporting the channel.